Hey everyone, how's it going? Guys, we finished de-energizing the transmission function here, the AT2 transformation, and now in this lesson, we're going to perform the energization. We're going to bring this function back into operation here, okay? So we're going to perform the reverse maneuvers here, right? Before we started by opening the circuit breakers and then opening the disconnect switches. Now we're going to start by closing the disconnect switches, and then finally we'll close the circuit breakers both in the 230 sector as well as the 138 kV sector, and also the breaker there in the 13.8 kV cubicle. So we're going to start these maneuvers, guys, by closing the disconnect switches here in the sector. Let's start over at the 138 kV sector. Okay, so let's go. So we're going to close here. Now let's take a careful look at the main bus disconnect switch, which is the 89. Let's go ahead and check the operating code for it, which is 8942. Let's perform this closing here. 8942. Just to confirm, the amount is 8942, okay? Let's close it right now. Awesome, switch closed successfully. Let's close 8941 here. Switch closed. Now let's carefully close the disconnectors right here in the connection module of the 230 sector. Let's close this one. We put a lockout here, right, guys? So the maintenance team has already removed the temporary grounds, right? And here we're going to remove the lockouts, right? So here we have a safety tag. We're going to remove this tag here, take it here, put it here. We switch this key here to local. We're going to switch it back to remote, right? Let's close the panel. This other disconnect switch here for the breaker. Let's remove the safety tag. And let's switch it to remote here. And let's give the command here, which is 8923. Switch closed. Let's close the panel. This disconnect switch here is for bus 2. We're going to return this function to bus 1. Let's remove the tag here. Let's switch it to remote if you do not mind. Let's close the panel right now, just to be sure. And this one remains open, right? We're going to close the disconnect switch for bus 1, which is this one. I could, everyone, return this function, depending on the substation's operating setup, it could operate here on bus 2, right? But then I'd have to perform another maneuver here, which is also closing perhaps the bus tie circuit breaker, right? So these configurations, everyone, will depend a lot on the substation, okay? It really depends on how we, are going to operate that substation. So let's remove the safety tag here as well. Let's go ahead and switch to remote here. And then give the closing command, which is 8920, right? 8920 for bus 1. Close. Close successfully. And here, everyone, for the 230 breaker, we performed the local command. We're going to switch to remote here and perform the command through the IED relays HMI. Switch to remote. Close the panel. Let's first close the 138 breaker over there. So we're going to close here. The 5210, breaker closed. So we already have voltage here on the secondary side, right, everyone? And we can see that even on the breaker, it's red, right? Because I have power coming from the 138 bus. So it's actually being powered right here, isn't it? By the 138 volts. This as well, everyone, this auto transformer energization through the 138 will always depend on the specific substation, okay? Usually we start the power supply here, through the 230, which is the normal direction, and there's the reverse direction. So we're going to operate the circuit breaker here through the HMI of the IED relay. And then we close here the circuit breaker of the 13.8 kV cubicle. So let's go here. Let's locate the AT2 panel here, right? AT2, we can see there that it's open, right? Over here we have AT1, circuit breaker closed, disconnect switch is closed, and here we see that we have the circuit breaker open. Look, the breaker is open, right? So we're going to switch to local and select the equipment here, circuit breaker. Let's give the closing command, breaker close. Let's switch back to remote, close the panel. And now let's close the circuit breaker at the cubicle of 13.8 kV. Let's open this panel here. Let's give the command here now. Through the supervisory system, let me switch over to remote here now. And let's do the closing here. We're back now with the transmission transformation function together with the auxiliary service. So the substation is now operating once again here with the function in place. Transmission transformation AT2. So we went there, switched the diesel group to manual and local, guys. I'm going to switch back to remote and automatic. And I called the maintenance team to see what happened here since the GDG started, right? So here, guys, I can perform commands, manually, right? So if I give a command here to turn it on here, I can do it, right? So I'm going to switch here then to automatic and remote. All right? So that's it, guys. We perform the maneuvers here for energizing the transmission transformation function 8.2 here, and we're back with this function here in the National Interconnected System, okay? A big hug, and see you in the next class.